The Chosen Season 4, Episode 3 is by far the most controversial episode. I've seen more people say about this episode that they're going to stop watching The Chosen than I think any other episode. And that's crazy because we've gone through things like gay pride flags and and Jesus, learning his sermon. So there's a ton of stuff behind the scenes that we've dealt with before. And now this seems to be one of the most contentious points that we've ever seen for The Chosen, period. And I don't think it's that huge of okay, it's a pretty big deal, but let's walk through it. Let's walk through some Bible verses. Let's check out the scenes here and talk about all of it. I will preface this whole section by saying that this is a TV show. This is not the Bible rewritten. This is not Dallas Jenkins telling us how it was supposed to be or how it actually was, but it was never written in the Bible, right? He's not trying to pull one over on us. He's not trying to change the Bible and make it something else, right? He has always said that this is a TV show. This is how it is, right? So before we begin with any of this, don't get so upset, okay? I know this is a hard scene. This is a very emotional thing that's happening here. You feel like you're being set up and maybe Dallas could have done this. Maybe he could have done that. And yeah, he could have, right? But he's a human being. And he wrote this scene and he decided to do it this way. And this is the way that he feels like God led him to talk about these specific issues. So regardless of the outcome of any of this, it's just a TV show. But let's jump into it. Let's talk about Rhema. But first, I think we have to start with a different character, and that would be Mr. Quintus. And so Quintus, of course, is having a really rough time in Capernaum. This is a huge part of the story, so we can't talk about Rhema without talking about Quintus and the Romans and Gaius and everything else that's happening in the context of the situation. So let's start there and let's jump in. If you don't know, this is called an abacus. I have a couple of them right behind me, actually, on my lamp stand over there. This is an ancient calculator, just so you know if you didn't catch that previously.
Dominus?
So let's talk about this. I know I'm gonna pause all throughout this. I'm gonna talk all throughout this. So Brandon Potter does an amazing job playing Quintus. We love Quintus. He's amazing, right? We have known the second that this episode started, and this happens right here, before anything else happens, Quintus has lost. Okay, in writing a villain like this, a villain like Quintus, the second that he loses his cool and starts to do other things, he has lost. And that means something's going to happen, right? Anytime you're writing a villain like this, it's very clear that when he loses his cool and he's no longer composed and a genius and someone who's in control, then something has gone terribly wrong, right? There's more than just something that's like, making him upset or whatever else. We have never seen Quintus quite like this, like we're going to see him in this episode. So let's keep on watching.
He just walked right out.
What is this? Who put this here? It's obstructing the street! Filthy animals! Smells like a sewer on a hot day. Oh, wait. It is a hot day.
I know that the number one comment during the live stream and what I've seen from people watching this episode is, no, not the dog, don't kick the dog.
And this is a sewer.
Dominus, your helmet. At least carry your sword, Dominus.
Also a super key moment right there. At least carry your sword, Dominus. Later on, we're going to see the same thing. He's wearing the same thing. He doesn't have his helmet, but he is carrying his sword. Obviously, that carries over from this moment right here. And it's obviously very purposeful that they pointed out that moment right there.
Look at this dog, unattended.
Imagine he just kills the dog right at the beginning of the episode. Oh, that would have been crazy.
Unchanged, spreading disease.
Dominus, can you help me?
And this dog. What's your permanent address?
I don't have...
Of course you don't. Why are you here?
Messiah is here.
Get off of my street.
Dominus, he doesn't.
Get rid of the dog.
So good, so good.
Both of them.
So again, we're seeing Quintus's frame of mind. He sees these beggars and these tent people as dogs, as equivalent to the dog, the literal dog that's right there, right? We're seeing his frame of mind. We're seeing how he's acting. We're seeing him being unhinged, right? He's not just insulting people because he feels powerful and in control. He's insulting them because he's lost control.
Hey!
Are you up to date on your taxes? Tell me the truth. You know I can find out quickly if I want to and if you lie. You're what?
Making payments on an overdue balance.
This is one of them. You! Why are you not selling from a booth? Do you have a permit?
He did not say what he was looking for.
And of course, Gaius and Julius, I think is his name, are walking up, and of course, Gaius has been trying his best to disobey Quintus without disobeying Quintus. And so we've been waiting for this shoe to drop for quite a while, but now he's really having to deal with the ramifications of Quintus going off the rails here.
Oh, preview. Wouldn't even take his helmet.
So, now, yes.
86 sticks.
Move along! Nothing to see here. There's some over there. This here. Smell it? How you can live like this?
Dominus, is everything all right?
Nothing is all right, Gaius. Look around you.
If you have an order to give, Dominus, we will carry it out.
That right there is such an insult to Quintus as well, because Gaius has been doing the exact opposite of what he just said. If you have an order, we will carry it out. But every time Quintus has given him an order, he's just done the complete opposite. He's like, go shut down Tent City. And then he's like, okay, I'll go help them set up more tents. And so it's so funny to see him kind of like so disobedient. And of course, later in this episode, we'll see that he's very clear with Quintus how disobedient he's going to be here.
Rome assigned me to this hellhole because they thought I couldn't hack it in one of the bigger cities. But oh, they changed their tune when my tribute record posted among the highest in the region. Now, my ledgers are in the red. I told you to make life difficult for the followers of Jesus.
We have enforced curfews and implemented
Taxes! Taxes were the only leg I had to stand on in the Empire, and those vulgar pilgrims have cut it off.
So to simplify what Quintus is talking about here, he's saying that he was sent here because they thought that he wasn't good enough in these other places. And so now he's being proved right because of all this craziness that's happened. Not only is he in the red in his taxes and what he's bringing to Rome, which is going to be a pretty big deal when they find that out, but also he's having all this chaos erupt where people are stampeding because of Jesus's sermons and all these different things are happening, and there's this random city that's appeared outside of his city for people to stay in tents and all this craziness that's happening. And because all of these extra people are a leech on his income and his worth of Capernaum itself and of the area around it, this has been a really big issue for him, so that he's losing all of his income that he used to be able to get, where people aren't able to pay taxes. And so because of that, he's not receiving taxes that he can send to Rome. And it's becoming a pretty big deal here, right? Starting with the very small thing of Matthew quitting until now, it's all escalated a ton.
What can be done, Dominus?
I'm done giving you ideas, Gaius. No more conversations. No more of me mentoring you. Results only. The tent city will shrink by 10 cubits a day, starting now. Say it back to me, Prime. I gave you that title, and I can strip it away.
10 cubits a day.
10 cubits a day? What?
The tent city will shrink by that much.
Or you'll be a centurion again.
So threatening demotion there.
Maybe something even lower, depending on how I feel when I wake up that day.
Yeah, maybe he makes him some sort of other servant, other person that's even lower than the centurion, right? Right now, we know that he's a primi ordine. In the structure of Rome, basically a primi ordine is in charge of, I think, 10 centuries, which is like 1,000 soldiers. So technically, Gaius would be very, very high up. Like, he'd be a very strong figure in the Roman army right now, especially for this area. I mean, 1,000 soldiers is a lot of people, right? And so now he's being threatened with a demotion, bringing him down way, way lower.
Yes, Dominus.
I'm not going to lose my job or my future because I hastily promoted some Germanic tax collector escort.
And we can see here that Quintus again is blaming Gaius here. He's saying basically, I'm not going to be demoted. I'm not going to be put into another position because of you, because of what you did, right? And so we'll see what happens, obviously. But throughout this episode, it's been a pretty big deal here. Now let's scoot on ahead here to a later scene as well. We're going to catch up with Thomas and Rayma as they kind of get into their section here, looking at the other side of the story.
I'm putting an extra blanket on top so she thinks it's just for the picnic, huh?
Why am I so nervous?
Just breathe. You're gonna do great, huh?
I am nearly done with this meeting. What about you?
Just these two, and I think this is enough for both of them.
Okay, we'll add also the rest of the order.
Shalom. Boker tov, my friends.
So, Bertov.
Brokotov means good morning.
So what do we owe the pleasure of your company, John?
Important business.
Well, this is important business. Finishing this one up, and then you can add the rest of the order.
This is the last of the...
Rayma? I was wondering if we could... go for a short walk.
So we hear the same exact musical treatment that we saw earlier in episode 2 as well. The dum 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 dum. Same kind of stuff here with the shakers in the background, and so we're hearing that again. This is kind of like the romantic, kind of like quirky, awkward music here.
Yeah, we're very busy. There's so many orders coming in, and
Please.
Nathaniel!
Whose turn is it?
They're all gone. I'll do it.
Whoa. John, no. You're an unreliable chaperone.
What?
I love Nathaniel so much.
Unreliable?
Overly permissive.
So whose turn is it?
I don't know. We normally cast lots.
Can you do it?
I would. Except I don't want to.
Except I don't want to. Yeah, that's it.
Andrew!
So Andrew, the professional third wheel here, he gets stuck into place. And of course, we get this moment here between Thomas and Rayma. Now, we're going to be talking about the mohar, which is kind of the gift that would be given to Rayma here as like their kind of wedding sealing, right? It's like the engagement ring essentially for the Kiddushin. And we also hear about the ketubah in this conversation here, which we talked about in a previous episode. But the ketubah is the wedding contract, okay? Normally to be signed by the families of the couple, but here it's going to be signed by the witnesses and Jesus. And so we'll hear about that a little bit too during this conversation.
The arrangements for the Kiddushin are nearly all in place. John has agreed to be the witness on my side. Jesus has agreed to serve as witness on your side and as rabbi to sign the Ketubah.
I love this shot, by the way. I'll just stop right there. I think a lot of this background here is all CGI, but it's really, really well done. I love how the sun comes through and mixes in with the footage and just looks really good.
Confirming a unique circumstance. There's one thing left. The object of value.
I thought we agreed that...
I know. But I wanted to get you something. I actually knew what I wanted it to be back when we just worked together. Before the wedding at Ghana. I traded my way up from a cinnamon loaf to a fish, to a lantern, to a bookshelf, barter after barter, all the way up to a sundial.
So a beautiful thing. This also connects to the beginning of this episode, which we talked about previously, which is King David, right? So this connects to King David because King David says for a time, or we'll be separated for a time, right? And so this also connects them as well, as Thomas says, I want to be with you for all time, as we see here.
Thomas. It's perfect. perfect.
But again, here's one of the things that tipped me off, at least in the episode here, was the music here in this section as well. Why is it that every time we get a scene with Thomas and Rama in particular, there's a little undertone of like iffiness and like weirdness and darkness that's kind of coming in? Why is that there? It's very purposeful because the music is building us into where we should go with the story. And so while this scene should be this happy, amazing scene, it's not because of the music.
Our future home.
Sorry. Something in my throat.
It's beautiful. And you knew for years?
Whenever we would
Again, those same notes. Dum da da, dum da da da.
work together, I would lose track of time, which is not like me.
No, it's not.
When we would have a conversation on the road or after an event, it was like time stopped. I couldn't tell afterwards if it had been 10 minutes or an hour.
I think I felt the same. But held back my feelings because I had so little control over who Abba would choose.
You don't have to be afraid anymore. Because we'll be together until the end of time.
And the music kind of crescendos into this moment here where Thomas makes that statement, but the music is telling us that we should not believe that statement.
And we'll have this to keep track of the hours in between.
Or at least that we should remember that statement. Maybe we shouldn't not believe it, but it should be something that we remember for sure.
I don't know what to say.
So don't.
So beautiful stuff there. Obviously, they're moving forward in what they have and moving into the covenant marriage, right? But then we get into the thick of it. Let's head into the later sections of this, obviously going through all the arguments and everything here. And we see starting off right here. But real quick before we get to that, I want to let you know about the sponsor for today's video, which is Gospel Story Studios. Are you tired of Disney and Netflix having all of these kids shows which show exactly what you don't want to teach your kids? Well, there's a solution to that, and that is real Christian companies making real Christian products, and especially for your kids. Just like The Chosen is kind of reclaiming this screen time back for adults, they want to do the same thing with Bible Quest. This is an amazing Christian kids show that dives into the Bible in a really unique way, and it's going to be an amazing source for your kids to have for years to come. Now, they want to show you the first episode entirely for free. So go ahead and click that link in the top pinned comment or the description of this video and check them out over there. Also, anybody that signs up during this time is going to be entered into a giveaway for a bunch of different goodies over on their site. Of course, they'll contact you if you win, and you'll get things like a workbook, a coloring book, a devotional guide, in order for you to help your kids walk through this first season of Bible Quest. So if this is something that you've been looking for and you're really interested in seeing better kids Christian content, then definitely check out those links below, and I'm sure Gospel Story Studios would love to have you over there. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
You have not moved a cubit. What is it you're waiting for, Gaius?
I passed your message along. We're just waiting for orders from Quintus.
Waiting for what? You are in command, Primi.
So first things first, Atticus yells at Gaius to get this under control. You're in command, you need to fix this, but then he realizes something is off here with Gaius.
Has the preacher gotten to you?
First things first, Gaius is now a follower of Jesus, or at least he is sympathetic to him.
Perhaps you want Quintus to take the fall for another ride.
Secondarily, ambition. He sees a Roman's ambition. Maybe he's trying to get Quintus out of the position that he's in.
Is that it? That's it. I was wrong about you.
If I did, what would you do with me?
Rome doesn't penalize ambition, Primi, but you are taking a huge gamble. One of you won't survive this.
Personally, I'm not convinced that Gaius was that ambitious, that he was trying to get Quintus fired, or trying to have something wrong with Quintus. I think personally, he was just trying to do what he felt was the correct thing to do, which was to try to help Jesus, right? And try to help Matthew. And in doing that, he began to believe Jesus, right? And so, yeah, him being the nice guy, I think, turned into this moment of, oh, Atticus thinks this might be ambition. Maybe it is. Maybe there is something that I could do here. Maybe there is a defiance I could have here in doing what I think is correct. But yeah. Again, all of this is building. We see that the Pharisees are upset. We see the crowd is upset because the Pharisees are trying to stop Jesus. Jesus has stopped preaching and healing in the crowd because he's talking to the Pharisees. And so they're upset that they're not getting healed or being preached to because the Pharisees are interrupting all of that. Everything is reaching this fever pitch, right? Everything is reaching this climactic point.
Arrest Jesus.
No, Dominus.
So now we see the direct defiance from Gaius, and of course we're going to see it again here in a second, but Gaius straight up tells him, no, I'm not going to do this. You know, you're going to have to figure it out, basically.
Arrest Jesus of Nazareth, Gaius.
No.
Arrest Jesus or you will hang.
I will not.
So right here, Gaius is saying, I'm willing to die for this. I'm not going to arrest Jesus. If you're going to kill me, you're going to kill me. And I'll submit to that. Which is crazy.
Julius! Arrest this man for dereliction.
But Julius, of course, is a good Roman soldier. He's going to follow orders here, so he arrests Gaius.
Arrest that man now!
So chaos ensues, things move forward, and we're going to skip ahead a little bit again to this point right here, I think. So we see that all of them are getting this escape plan ready, right, for Jesus to get out of here. But we see two people turn back. That's Thaddeus and Thomas. Thaddeus runs to Mary, and Thomas runs to go get Rhema.
We have to go.
Now this is a terrifying moment. Quintus actually grabs Thaddeus and questions him about Jesus.
Where did Jesus go?
But then someone from the crowd defends Thaddeus and pushes Quintus to the ground. This is a big part of what's happening here because this is what makes Quintus feel threatened, is that he's been almost trampled here in the crowd, even though he is the praetor of this city. And until this moment, we didn't see Quintus grab his sword. He wasn't going to. He was trying to arrest Jesus, right? He wasn't trying to kill Jesus. He was trying to arrest Jesus. And so because of those people pushing him down, he felt so threatened, right, that he had to command control. Remember Quintus's mindset. That's why we're going through all of this process of looking at where the episode built up to, right? Quintus lost control. He is in the red. He no longer has Rome on his side because they're about to fire him once they find out how low his revenue is, right? 2, he's lost control of the people around him because they don't listen to him anymore, aka Gaius, right? And then also on top of all of that, we're seeing that right now he's basically being threatened with his life because people are throwing him down on the ground in the middle of this large group of people. He's feeling very scared and he has no control anymore. When previously, season 1, 2, and 3, he had all the control in the world, so much so that he could go tell people to go grab Jesus from miles and miles away, bring him back to his office, and he could have a conversation with him and let him go, right? So like that's the kind of control that he had just a few months ago, and now he's here where everything seems to be broken for him and he's not sure how to deal with this whole situation.
Where's Jesus? Where is he?
So we see Thaddeus getting really intense there. He's kind of getting ready to run if he needs to. I love Joey Vahedi's acting this whole entire season. This episode is great, but this is not the climax of his acting in this season. I'll just give you a heads up.
Come on, let's find the others.
So Thomas is looking for a way out. The only way out is really through the front of the synagogue area here, where Quintus is. Quintus has just made a large amount of room with his sword, and now all the room behind them, behind Rama here, is basically impassable. They can't get through. The only way through is to go through the path that they cleared previously for Jesus to get out the left side over there.
Stay back!
So Thomas is not really thinking about Quintus as a threat. He's thinking about the crowd as a threat. He's thinking about the Pharisees probably as a threat, but he's not really thinking of Quintus as a threat at the moment.
Where is he?
And again, Quintus questions Thomas directly. He says, "Where is he?" Thomas ignores him because he's just trying to get out of the crowd completely. He's ignoring Quintus because, again, he's not worried about him at this very moment. He's just trying to get out of there.
Stop!
We see him pass by and actually hit him. Again, Quintus was just knocked to the ground, so somebody else hitting him, of course, is going to trigger him and make him react immediately. And we see Thaddeus getting ready because he sees it about to happen. He almost jumps in to try to stop it, but he can't get there in time. And then we see the plunge and Rama being stabbed here. Now, again, he was trying to probably stab Thomas here because Thomas is the one that disrespected him, that pushed him and tried to walk that way. But then we see Rama actually being hit here. Everyone's reaction. We see Big James, of course, as he is the fighter that he is. Big James goes into action and starts to run towards them. Great job with the CGI and the sword and everything else that happened here. I don't think that was practical. I think that was CGI, but great job. Well done. Here with all the reactions and everything else. Like they said in one of the other sections, they spent about a week and a day filming all of this. So it's one scene, but it was a massive scene here as well. We see that Quintus is kind of confused at what he just did. I'm sure that he didn't really mean to do that. However, he's lost control, right? And this is where it brought him. Right here, James runs into action. I love the muted crowd and just the super simple music. It's almost like a flashbang, in an action movie. Whenever you've been hit, it's like everyone's in shock. They don't know what's going on. Thomas takes off his robe and he puts it on Rama. Big James comes in with his knife.
We need a doctor!
We see John holding him back. Remember, Big James, ever since season 1, basically, has been ready to go to war with anybody that's against Jesus. Remember in season 2, even, him talking about how he's ready to basically join the army, and he's been practicing his sword skills since he was a kid, right? So him, out of anybody other than Simon the Zealot, maybe not now, but earlier, he is ready to go to war here. Now, Atticus, of course, is upset at this. Why? Does he really care about Rama? Probably not, right? He doesn't really care about Rama. However, he is very focused on Quintus, and that Quintus just lost everything here. He lost control, he went too far, and it's going to be a bad thing for him, right? Atticus knows that. It's not going to play out well. And so Atticus is like, okay, we need to get you under control. You need to get out of here right now before these people kill you. And so he's trying to take control of the situation because Quintus won't. Even though he's been pushing him to take control, ever since he's been here.
Z. Get him.
Now, this is a moment here that I would say is interesting. We don't really know what Jesus knew on earth, right? There's at least one thing that Jesus did not know, and that's when he would return. So we don't know on, like, in this situation, we don't know what Jesus would have known or what he wouldn't have, how he would have reacted. Did he know ahead of time that Rama was going to die? We don't really know. Seems like Dallas insinuates in some of the interviews and different things that he did. However, here we're kind of seeing like he's, you know, going on like it's normal, and then he gets this, like, you know, wave of knowledge that comes to him, showing him what's happening.
Back to the house without anyone seeing. I will wait for the others.
So he gets this like, oh, I see what's happening. There's something that's coming to me and I know. So he goes back. So I'm going to skip forward a little bit here just to get to the part where we're going to see them talking.
It's not over. It's not that time. Don't go, Rama. Don't, please. I can't.
Thomas, stay with him. It's all I want. It's all
And that's the end of Rama. So she wants him to follow Jesus. She wants him to continue doing that. Obviously, that's why they're there in the first place. While recently their attention has definitely been on each other, their main attention, of course, being here in the first place was to follow Jesus. But here is where she is gone, and now we see the aftermath of this. This is the most kind of frustrating bit of what we're talking about. Most people are not mad that Rama died. Dying is a part of life. There's things that happen. However, and she's not a biblical character, so that doesn't really matter. Quintus is not a biblical character, so that doesn't really matter. So these two things are like whatever. But here is where people start getting really, really upset. And so we're going to talk about this.
Heal her. Fix this.
Thomas.
You're here now, Rabbi. Please. This is a mistake.
Thomas. I'm so sorry.
So let's hear about what he's saying here. He says, heal her, fix this. It's not her time, right? This was a mistake. These are all things that's happening here. Jesus says he's sorry. Thomas starts to realize that this is not going to happen the way that he thought it was, or the way he's hoping when he saw Jesus, right? I saw even in the chat during the live stream, everybody was like, oh no, Rama, oh no, Rama. And then Jesus shows up and everybody's like, oh, here we go. Jesus is going to heal her. He's going to heal her. But that's not what happens. So let's keep on watching.
Rabbi, you don't have to let this happen.
So Thomas, you can tell in his language, is almost blaming Jesus. Fix this. You need to fix this. This is a mistake. You don't have to let this happen.
Just take it back.
Just take it back, as if he had done it.
Just take it back. She might not be dead yet. You can heal, right?
It is not her time.
Now, this is probably the most contentious line of this whole entire section. He says, let's go back. We'll listen to it one more time right here, because I think this is where most people got confused on this section here.
You don't have to let this happen. Just take it back. Just take it back. She might not be dead yet. You can heal, right?
It is not her time.
So he says, she might not be dead yet. You can heal, right? And then he says, it is not her time. Okay. So he says, it is not her time. Dallas has talked about this quite a bit in the behind the scenes and talking about these different things. I'm sure he talks about it in the after show, which I have not checked out yet. However, he obviously, this is talking about when Rama is going to be resurrected at some point, right? We have some theories about this. We're going to talk about it in a second. And I think even the live stream kind of hinted towards some of this as well, but some really interesting stuff might happen in the future of The Chosen. And so here, Jesus saying it's not her time is very, very clear here what he's saying. He's saying at some point she will be resurrected, whether that is at the end of times, right? In her new body and all that kind of stuff, or sometime else. And so that or sometime else is kind of really, really interesting. I'm going to save it for a second as we finish out this scene. Then we're going to jump into some scripture here and talk about all this stuff that's happening here.
I love you, Thomas. He loves you.
That's super key as well. I love you, Thomas. He loves you. Reassuring him who he is and who the Father is, and that they are not abandoning him in this moment. Even though there's pain, the love still exists.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. Then who hugs Thomas but Simon himself, who is the only other apostle so far that has really experienced pain? I would say that there's two of them. One of them being little James, where he asked Jesus to heal him and he says no. The other being Simon, who had a miscarriage, right, with his wife Eden, and now is experiencing the same pain here with Thomas in a different way, obviously. Losing a life in a horrible way, right, that neither of them could have prevented or stopped, right, or fixed. And so now Simon, the only one that can really connect with his heart, is here with Thomas, trying to comfort him. And of course, Thomas is having a hard time with it. Now, this shot right here from the trailer is actually how we knew Remo was going to die ahead of time. We talked about this weeks before it came out in theaters, actually, on this channel. But yeah, this shot right here is how we knew that she was going to die. And then that's the end right there. I won't make you relive all of it again, but there it is there. We see as he goes over to her body, lays on top of her, and that is the end, and that is Rema gone. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about a few things that people are upset about. Okay, first, would Jesus heal Rema? This is a huge question that a lot of people have. A lot of people are really divided on this. Some people are saying, absolutely, yes, Jesus would heal Rema because he never, ever did not heal someone when they asked. And then there's the other side of it that's saying, no, he would not heal Rema for various reasons, right? There's a lot of people that are upset about this, and I totally understand where you're coming from on both sides. Okay, so let me kind of walk through it with you. Number one, there are times in scripture when Jesus did not heal even when he was asked, and there's a lot more times that are not written about, I guarantee you. And I'm going to walk through some of these things in scripture that kind of walk through this. Number one is when he was rejected at Nazareth. Okay, this is Mark chapter 6. You can also look at Matthew chapter 13. Both of these sections are very similar here as we jump in. So Mark chapter 6, we see that basically he goes to his hometown, and he is rejected there. Where did this man get these things? What is this wisdom given to him? How are such mighty works done by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us? So the family of Jesus, right? The brothers and sisters of Jesus, which some people are going to get mad about. I even said that in the first place, but that's who they are. Okay. And they take offense at him. And Jesus said to them, a prophet is without honor except in his hometown, is not without honor except in his hometown and among his relatives and his own household. And he could not do mighty work there except that he laid hands on a few sick people and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. Okay, there's only a couple of times when Jesus marvels in scripture. One of them is actually with Gaius. He's not called Gaius in the scriptures, but the centurion with the great faith. Okay. This is in Matthew chapter 7, I believe. But there's only a couple of times when Jesus marvels. And so he marvels here at their unbelief because he's so amazed that they cannot see him for who he actually is because they're too close to him. This is like your cousin telling you that he just made $100 million, right? You're like, there's no way. There's no way you did that, right? Jesus feels the same way, where people don't believe him. They don't see who he actually is, the person that he is, the Messiah that he is, because they're too close, okay? Now he went among the other villages and started teaching. Now here, he could not do any mighty works, right? Because of their unbelief. Same thing here in Matthew says the same thing. He could not do many mighty works because of their unbelief. Same section here. Now that is one section, but we look at context clues of other sections and we see this much, much more throughout the scriptures. For example, if we think about the pool of Bethesda, okay? So when Jesus heals at the pool, you remember this from The Chosen, right? Season 2, episode 4, one of our favorite episodes, my maybe all-time favorite episode of The Chosen. It's an amazing episode. However, here we see what Jesus does, okay? Jesus walks in the pool of Bethesda. which has 5 roofed colonnades, which we've been to in Israel. If you want to come with us, definitely check out the link in the description down below. In these lay a multitude of invalids, a multitude, so hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of invalids, blind, lame, paralyzed. There is one man who has been sitting for 38 years, and Jesus saw him laying there and knew he had already been there a long time. He said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" Why did Jesus choose this person? Did this person raise their hands? Did they go to Jesus and ask for healing? What happened here? Jesus chose him for a very specific reason, in order to heal him in this specific way, in order to glorify God, right? The same thing with the man born blind. When we see the man born blind, the reason why he's healed is to glorify God. So here we're seeing the exact same thing happened. Jesus said, "Do you want to be healed?" The sick man said, "Sir, I have no one to put me in the pool," because he was still obsessed with getting healed by this pagan ritual that was going on in the pool, rather than him, actually being healed by God, right? And so he's like, "I don't have anybody to bring me in the pool when it's stirred up," because he's lame. And so Jesus said to him, "Get up, take up your bed and walk." This person never asked for healing. He never says, "Yes, I want to be healed." He never says, "Jesus, Jesus, pick me," right? Doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Jesus walks in and he chooses him out of hundreds and hundreds of people that are at the pool of Bethesda. And he says, "Get up and walk." So what do you think happened when that one person that's surrounded by other people who are sick, who are clamoring and yelling and screaming and itching and clawing, right, to get into the pool, how many of those people do you think asked Jesus to heal them directly after this happened? Just using context clues, right? If I walk into a building filled with people and I heal somebody, everybody else in that building who is sick is going to ask me to heal them too. We've seen this plenty of times, right? With healers all over the place that travel everywhere, like Benny Hinn and these different people who claim to be these healers and different things, right? Everybody wants to be healed by them. So we would say the same thing with Jesus, but he's legitimate. So we see in this moment that Jesus does not heal anybody else. Why? He chose this man not because he had the greatest faith out of anybody. He chose this man not because he asked, but because God was going to be glorified through it. Because it was going to show the Pharisees and Sadducees who Jesus was, and it was going to heal this man who needed to be healed. Why? Because God said so, right? So it's a weird situation when we say like Jesus healed everybody that wanted to be healed. It's just not true. It's just not true. And I know people are going to be upset about that. I know people are going to leave dislikes because of that, but it's just not true. For example, let's go and think even more in context clues of the Bible. Let's start with John the Baptist. Is Jesus not powerful enough to resurrect John the Baptist? Why would he not do that when John is his cousin, right? I just don't see it, right? Why would he not do it if John is his cousin? Why would he not heal? Why would he not resurrect him? Do you think Jesus is not powerful enough to put John's head back on his body? They had his body, right? The disciples of John went and they got his body from Machaerus and they buried it. So Jesus could have resurrected him, right? But he didn't. Another one, right? Joseph is not mentioned anywhere in the New Testament beyond Jesus' birth, essentially. So Joseph most likely died before the ministry of Jesus. Why would Jesus not resurrect his own father? Well, we don't know, right? It's because God does certain things at certain times. Now, I will say there are some counterpoints to this, and I'll bring this up before we get to our last section, which is the most important of this whole section, so stick around. I will say during John 17, which is the high priestly prayer, one of my favorite chapters in all of the book of John, okay, we see the high priestly prayer where Jesus is walking from the Last Supper into the Garden of Gethsemane. He's walking down the valley of the Kidron Valley, walking up into the Mount of Olives and into the Garden of Gethsemane, okay? He is walking with his followers and he starts praying this prayer. This prayer has to do with us. It has to do with his apostles. It has to do with the people that are following him. And here we see that he says this: "While I was with them, I kept them in your name, which you had given me. I have guarded them, and not one of them has been lost except the son of destruction, that the scripture might be fulfilled." So what does this mean? Does this mean that every single person that followed Jesus, none of them died during the time of Jesus' ministry? No, I don't think so at all. You think that the 15 to 20,000 people that were at the feeding of the 5,000, or the 13 to 15,000 people that were at the feeding of the 4,000, do you think none of those people died during the 3 years of Jesus' ministry? I highly doubt that, right? I'm sure someone died, and those were all people that followed Jesus, right? For another example, let's bring back John the Baptist. John the Baptist surely believed in Jesus and understood what he was doing, even though he had doubts in jail. John the Baptist surely understood and believed in Jesus. However, he still died, right? So Jesus did lose him. So who is he talking about here? Well, he's specifically talking about the 12 apostles. He's not talking about anybody else. So he's specifically talking about the 12 apostles, and he's talking about that none of them have been lost except for the son of destruction, which is Judas. And by this time, Judas had already been lost to the group because he had already sold out Jesus after the dinner. Right? And so Jesus knows that that's coming. He knows that he's about to be betrayed, and he knows that Judas is coming to betray him. So all of that kind of fits to what we're seeing here, right? And again, all of us are seeing the buildup of this. And remember, the season does not end here, right? Season 4 of The Chosen does not end here. There are still more buildup. And then there's a season 5, and there's a season 6, and then there's a season 7, right? Things are going to get darker and darker and darker until the brightness comes and the light wipes out all the darkness, right? When the resurrection comes and there's hope again, right? But for here, the darkness is going to continue. And so at this point, to answer the question, would Jesus resurrect her? Well, sure, he could have, but he didn't, right? And here, again, if you're going to get mad about this, remember that it's just a show. It really is just a show. So let's keep that in mind as we're watching all of this. This is written by imperfect people who, as all the time, they like to say, I don't really like this, but they like to say all the time how this is an imperfect medium, right? But they chose to do this for a specific purpose in order to teach biblical lessons, which is that Jesus does not always heal. Jesus does not always do what we think is correct. Not everything is warm and fuzzy, and that is very true. Right? It just biblically is very true. Even while Jesus was alive. He didn't save every single person that was sick. He didn't save every single person that would have died or did die. He just didn't. And we can see that through all the clues in Scripture. We can see that through all the facts in Scripture. And it's just the case. I will say, however, the biggest point to this video is right here. And that is that I am almost positive that we are going to see Rhema again in The Chosen. But Brandon, she just died, and it looks like this. And Brandon, but didn't you just say that Jesus wasn't going to heal her? And blah, 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 blah. Yes, I did. Yep. But I do think in season 7 of The Chosen, we will see Rhema again. And here's why I say that. There's a couple of reasons why. Number 1 is Scripture. So let's go to Matthew chapter 27. Matthew chapter 27 talks about the death of Jesus, okay? So in the death of Jesus, now from the 6th hour, there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a voice saying, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. And this is, my God, why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it said, this man is calling Elijah. And one of them once ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it to the reed and gave it to him to drink. But the other said, wait, let us see whether Elijah comes and will save him. And Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. And that's when he died. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth shook, and the rocks were split, and the tombs were opened. And many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. Now, this wasn't just in Jerusalem. These tombs were opened all over the place, not just in Jerusalem. And coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went to the holy city and appeared to many. When the centurion and those who were with him, keeping watch over Jesus, saw the earthquake and what took place, they were filled with awe and said, truly, this was the Son of God. So, what if we see this in season 7 of The Chosen? Let me play it out for you. We have Thomas and Rhema, okay? First off, we have Thomas, who has been struggling with everything since season 4. For the last 3 seasons, he's really been in a rough place. Not only has he lost Rhema, but now he's lost Jesus as well. and he doesn't know what's going to happen. He is really doubting everything, right? As doubting Thomas comes into full effect, we see as Jesus is resurrected and Mary Magdalene comes in the room and tells everybody that Jesus is resurrected because she's the one that finds out. Some of the other apostles run off to the tomb in order to verify that this has happened, but Thomas stays in place because he is sure that this is a fake. This is a lie. Something happened. Someone stole the body. But then, eventually, Jesus appears to him. And all the stuff that we see in scripture happens. Thomas puts his hands in the wounds that Jesus has, and he is brought to light about what's happened here, right? Now, because the tombs were opened a few days ago, this gave Rhema enough time to come out of her tomb and go to Jerusalem. And now she woke up in Tel Dor, saw her family. Maybe she didn't because they're all actually in Jerusalem for Passover. So maybe she's seeking out her dad. Maybe she's seeking out Thomas. Maybe she's seeking out Jesus. I'm sure she's highly confused about what's happening, but she travels all the way over to Jerusalem. And then right as Jesus has finished with Thomas and he comes back in his own and he has all this great faith, at that moment, Rhema appears in the room. She walks in and she's alive again. Thomas would have already known from the 3 days prior that several people that were in the city of Jerusalem had already been resurrected from their tombs whenever Jesus died in the first place 3 days ago. So this is a possibility, at the very least. It could be written. However, I don't know if Dallas will do that. I don't know if that's the case, but there is one clue that just happened in this live stream right here. Let's see.
So, yeah, I'm so glad you're back here today to do this because you're still, of course, and will always be part of the family. Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, right? I don't know. Yeah.
Yes.
That reaction there was super awkward. And so what I think just happened there, and maybe I'm just reading this wrong, what I think just happened there is that Dallas said, you will always be part of the family. Rhema took that, or Yasmin took that as, we will see you again. And she has probably been told previously that there may be a time when you come back into the show because this could happen, blah, 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 right? And so she looks at Dallas like he has just revealed something on air, and she's like, well, yeah, maybe, right? And she kind of questions him a bit. And so let's watch that again.
So, yeah, I'm so glad you're back here today to do this because you're still, of course, and will always be part of the family. Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, right? I don't know.
So that interaction right there was very sus to me. So maybe that's a clue. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just an awkward interaction there in that moment. But I could definitely see this happening in the future. I could also see it not happening. But I do think that this was very intentional whenever we hear Jonathan saying it is not her time yet, right? It's not her time yet to be resurrected. Why would he say that? It's a very confusing line. I don't think he's talking about the end of the days. I think he's talking about how she will be resurrected at some point. So that's just my thought. Just my thought. There's a lot of stuff to this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I know you guys are going to have a ton to say, so bring it on. Let's go for it. Let's chat about it. Please keep the arguments to a minimum. All right. I hope you enjoyed that video. Right now, we're doing daily Chosen content, so if you want to see more of it, I'm sure there's more right here. Anyway, go check that one out, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.